Campbells comments, New Zealand show back for another week. Ken Bray, hello mate.
Mate, I thought you'd forgotten my phone number. I was worried what's going on. I might upset you or something.
No, this is a great show, and I'll tell you what, I enjoy doing it. I get a lot of feedback about it. We've got Ken Breckon on today, and we're going to cross to him in a second. Proudly brought to you by Haras Des trotteurs, NZB Standardbreds, Ken Breckon, of course, and Woodlands Stud. And there's a little bit of news there for the guys from Woodlands Stud. But one thing I want to point out, Cam, I am on YouTube. With the big social media outage, we're doing this early morning, Tuesday morning, this record, and Facebook is down. So please make sure you go to YouTube and hit subscribe. So if they cancel Facebook or something ever happens, you can still go to YouTube and watch all my quality productions, mate.
It was good to see you finally be able to stop blowing into the paper bag. You've regained composure and you can breathe again. You've stopped panicking now that Facebook's gone down. But no, it's amazing how much we rely on that bloody thing.
It's quite funny. This is a true story. I actually told Cam that Facebook was down, and he's like, "Oh, thank God for that. I thought it was my reception." I went downstairs. Marie was making herself a coffee, and I said, "Don't try and get on Facebook. It's down." She goes, "Oh, thank God." Everyone can't work it out. We do rely on it a lot, but yeah, please follow my YouTube page, because if something does happen, it doesn't matter if it's to Twitter or any of those things, YouTube will always still be there, and you can sit back and watch us on the big screen, Cam.
Exactly. How good's that?
I've got Ken Breckon coming up very quickly. Pretty amazing stat, he told me. He's got the highest money earner in Australia. He's got the highest money earner in New Zealand at the minute. Better twist and king of swing. Hasn't got a bad lot of horses underneath him at the minute, Kenny Breckon.
Well, he's a great mob of horses, yeah. And it's a fantastic broodmare band, you know. We've just finished inspections here, although I haven't seen the North Island horses. I just went through this broodmares, and you're going, wow. You know, like he's done a fantastic job, Breckon Farms, and you know they're getting the rewards which they deserve. The amount of money and time and effort he's sunk into the game, it's great for him.
I think he said there might be 40 yearlings going to this year's NZB Standardbred sale, which will be great.
That could be very correct. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers, but they are very, very high quality too. As good as anywhere in the world. He
alluded to a couple of things actually in it. What I might do, I'll throw to Ken Breckon right now, Cam, and you and I will come back at the end of this interview. We are now on the New Zealand show. NZB hat gone. The mighty B on the top. Ken Breckon joins me firstly. Welcome, Ken.
Yeah, welcome, Paul. Welcome, listeners.
Not many people in Australia have one of these hats, do they?
No. It's actually getting a bit of a following, that cap. You know, I've got a lot of the young fellas over here want them, so B for best, we'll call it.
B for best. It stands out. It stands marketing. Yeah. Like I've done an interview with Charlotte Mooney, and she does a lot of your behind the scenes marketing. It's one thing you're very key on, and I must encourage people, especially the Australian people, go to breckonfarms.co.nz, check out your website. Just sit there and watch the start of it. It's brilliant. It's one of the best websites I've seen for a horse farm going forward. Just great selling point, Ken. That initial part that just sucks you into watching and looking at the rest of the website.
Yeah, well, it's funny, our manager, Nigel Fay, he isn't too happy with it because he's done a huge amount of work on the pasture. And so he's keen for us to get another drone over the property and redo that. But it is pretty special and does show off the property.
I caught up with Nigel, well, it must have been about January, I suppose, promoting the yearling sales. And the way COVID's looking, we're probably going to be doing something a little bit similar. But you're very entrenched in the sales field, I suppose. Breckon Farms, you breed to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think next year will be our biggest draft. I think we're up to about 44, I think. So we're sort of maxed out. You know, I'd like to think we can do 50, and that'll be our ambition. But we're getting up there with our numbers.
And you love the breeding part, Ken? Like, is that one of your little...
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm very keen on pedigree, and you're always trying to raise the bar. It's been 10 years in the making, the farm, and I always said, you know, with the type of money that we were investing, the old story, Sandy Yarney also showed me, and a few of the other guys I was advised by, but it's getting your pedigree to a level that, you know, you're able to breed good horses and get a reasonable or good return. So I think we've got something like that's 15, 16 maybe Group 1 mares on the farm. And if they're not that, they've actually left Group 1 winners. So that's very much what we're proud of.
So say that again. You got 15 or 16 Group 1 winning mares.
Yeah.
And if not, then
We've probably got another similar numbers, or at least 10 that have left Group 1 winners.
serious.
So it is the who's who of standardbred racing.
Well, in Australia, a lot of the time we always say about the New Zealand breeders and how dominant they are. This is going to sound a little bit like brown nosy, but you appear to be very smart in the way that you do them. Woodlands are the same. The guys down in Southern Bred, you seem to have great bands of mares. It's one of the key things that you guys all try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You do need really good mares. There's no two ways about it. In the early days, I was buying mares willy-nilly and sort of hoping for the best, but the results were obviously in those early days weren't great at best. And so, we had to regroup, and I did a lot of soul searching, and I think we've got it right now. I mean, you can always do it better, but I'm always looking at buying mares once they're finished racing, and I'm very keen to expand our mares and new families. I mean, what appeals to one buyer may not appeal to another or to another trainer. So we're continually upgrading our mares. The hardest thing, I had a lot of sentimental. There's a lot of sentiment in the early days because it was my late brother that introduced me to harness racing. So I think he looked down on me and said, "You mug, you better get rid of some of these. It's costing you a fortune." So maybe he was able to speak to me a bit earlier. I might have done that, but so I got rid of a lot of that early breed that I got involved in, and as I said, now also got involved in the trotting as well. So we've sort of got a bob each way. So we're involved in the trotting gate and obviously the pacing gate, and we love them both. So
I'm just going to take you back a little bit. It's one of these things. This is actually mainly on the back of King of Swing, which we will get to. He'll probably be the last thing we talk to about the way it's going. You just said there before about the sentiment and stepping away from the sentiment, if you like. Is that because of your brother said, "Oh, let's buy these horses"? So you said, "Well, they're going to win." So that's where you're saying you have to break away from that sentiment a bit.
Yeah, well, of course. Our first horse was the Great Magira. What a way to start. She ended up 2-year-old of the year. And I think the next couple of purchases, I think Tarina J and of course Diamonds in Gold. In fact, Diamonds in Cash won over the out of the breed a couple of weeks ago, sorry.
He just keeps winning.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get the bug. I mean, the game seems easy, like anything. You start having a couple of good horses. Nikisha was another one. And he raced over in Victoria as well, and I think he won sort of 15 odd races. He was sort of in that home stagey Christian Cullen era, so he was sort of about third or fourth best horse back in the day in that era. But so it looked easy, but then a couple of years later we weren't getting them as much, and I thought, and then started breeding, and just small steps. We only had Magira and a couple of those early mares, but we did pretty okay in the first couple of sales. But when you start having a few duds and a few misses and they're not performing on the track, suddenly you've got a nightmare around in your hands. And we sort of got hammered a wee bit in the sales. So if you've got a passion for it and you've got a desire to be successful, it's like any business. You've got to regroup, listen to other people, and change your model. And so we turned it upside down, and we got rid of a lot of mares. And it made a grown man cry. I mean, we were putting them through the sales there, through the mares sales, and we were getting the mares that were, some of them unfolded Better's Delight. We're getting $3,000 and $4,000. So it was a real learning curve. But nonetheless, we've come out the other side, and always learning. I make it known to everyone. Unlike America, where you're selling horses, you get a huge demand from new stallions. And of course, over here, the trainers are gun shy with new stallions. And so here we are as breeders, and we're about to commence that, of course, now the breeding season. You're trying to crystal ball 2 or 3 years out. It's so difficult. And fellow breeders would understand what I'm saying. And you're getting to a stage where the likes of Art Major's done a super job. Better's Delight, they're getting as old as me. Or maybe not quite, but they're getting up there in years. So what's the next best thing? And that's what you've got to try and look at. So it's a tough gig.
Do you enjoy it?
Oh, I like it because it's tough, because it's the unknown, and I'm been, I would say fortunate, but I've got a fairly successful business behind me. But I think it's the unknown in harness racing, and breeding, that I really love.
Yep.
And I get such a thrill, obviously in racing horses, but I get just as much thrill out of someone else, having the thrill of horses they bought off us.
Yeah, and seeing them win. I don't know if I've said it on this show. I've said it on a couple of the other shows. I was at one of the sales here in Melbourne. I think it was a Nutrien sale. Doesn't matter, either one. And breeders who I know very, very well, they had a stallion that was the flavour of the month the year before. Cheap stallion. They sold incredibly well. Next year, so they're going there, they're thinking, oh, we're going to get $10,000, $15,000 for this horse, and they weren't selling. And to hear the guy say to his business partner, they're not selling, no reserve, must go. So gone from maybe earning, say, they might have been banking on $10,000, $15,000 to potentially getting 4 or 5, like as part of their investment. It's a game of hard knocks sometimes, isn't it, for no reason?
Yeah, but again, it can come back, of course, because 3 or 4 years down the track, those early horses might be doing it on the track, and you can be flavour of the month again. But it is a up and down gig, I can tell you.
Absolutely. Now, King of Swing, we're going to talk about him because he's racing in the Victorian Cup here at Bendigo on Saturday night, which you must be so excited by what this horse has been able to achieve.
Oh, look, he's a super horse, and there's not a race that we don't watch. It's funny how it all came about, because I went halves with a mare called Give It a Whirl Girl, and look, I tell you what, it wouldn't win if it started now early, but out of a good family impetus. And Rod Croon came to me and said, look, I think this is a great family, we'll get into it. But anyway, the first one, as I said, was a dud. I mean, it paced well, but just had a heart the size of a pea. But terrible. But again, like often, and again, breeders would say the same. They often miss a generation. So she in fact left Twist and Twirl, who she won 2 Group 1s, was desperately unlucky in the Breeders' Crown. That Zach Butcher came off his back, a little rat, and kicked our ass right on the line. So, but anyway, that's racing. And Cheer the Lady, I remember it. But she was a very, very good mare, a tough mare, Twist and Twirl, and she's just gone and just been leaving these good horses. And of course, so King of Swing, John Street bought him. By memory, we sold him for 80,000. It was again me going sort of outside the square, and again we got a hiding that year, Rock and Roll Hanover. I think had he been an art major or Bettor's Delight, it wouldn't have been a Bettor's Delight because she was by that. But yep. If it had been by one of the more trendy stallions of the day, then we would have got a lot more from him. However, and again, this is what I like to play with, is pedigrees, and she was out of an Arts Place mare, and of course the Golden Cross in America was Rock and Roll over an Arts Place mare, and so many great horses have come from that line. So that's what I went for, and of course the end result was, we got it right with a breed, King of Swing, and so John Street, he had a wonderful time with the horse. I think he sort of picked up 200,000 or 300,000 for him, and I think he on-sold him for a similar amount. So he did well out of the horse, and then of course he's been to Western Australia and then now back in New South Wales and doing a fabulous job for the owners.
And for racing, I think, as well, because I think he is a draw card, and he's probably a draw card that's nearly tailor-made for TV, the way that he races, because he gets to the front and bowls along. Now, if you're at the races, that can be boring, but I don't think people find, when you're watching it on TV, a horse that goes to the front and dictates a race is necessarily as boring as what it is there, because you get to see the camera, they're always on them, and you can see what they're actually doing.
Yeah, oh look, I think he's fantastic, and I think too the name. I mean, some of the commentaries are just fabulous with the horse, but he's a big, tough, rolling fella, and you're going to get a run for your money, aren't you?
So just go back a little bit. We've Give It a Whirl.
Yep.
She had 7 starts for nothing, I think, from memory. I'm going off memory. First foal was very minimal. Is that what you said?
Yeah, very minimal. Yeah, very minimal.
So how did this man not slip through the cracks and be one of those ones when you were changing your business?
Well, I don't think I changed my mind there. So I didn't get it all.
Yeah.
I had a bit of luck. And so, because she was a great looking mare too. She was a big, strong mare. So she did. I'm just trying to think where else she left, but she did leave a couple there. I'll have to break my mind. I've got too many mares, Paul. But like it's well, of course she left the two anyway. She left. But definitely, there was a few I hung to, and I got a couple right. And she fortunately was one that we hung on to.
It's just one of those funny things, Ken. I hear so many people say you've got to take sentiment out of it. Mark Purdon is a genius for it over there. Like he buys I can't think, Follow the Stars, and I know the Pit Connections who had the one the next year, and they said Mark hasn't even come and looked at it because obviously there was some reason and all the rest. He doesn't fall in love with buying horses just because he's had a half brother or a full brother or something else like that. And I think so many times you've got to take the sentiment out of it. But this horse but this horse, King of Swing, has still probably been created because of that sentiment in a way.
Yeah. Well, look, what's more exciting, of course, then rolls along a sister, of course, Better Twist.
Yeah.
And she's something very, very special. Won 5 6-foot ones last season, and as we speak, she's on her way. She's been floated up from Mark Purdon's today, and she heads across to the Breeders' Crown. So, so that horse is syndicated. I'm just trying to think of the name. It's Take 10 Syndicate and Breckon Farms. So we've got her going across, and her stablemate, a Better You, out of another great. And so the other one that's travelling with her is a Better You out of Only For You, who again was 2-year-old filly of the year. So she's also travelling over. She's with the Slick 6 Syndicate, and again Breckon Farms sharing in the lease of that horse. So they're both going across today, as I said. Up to Auckland today, and then fly out tomorrow.
Are they going to Nathan or?
Both going to Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think with Better Twist, what someone pointed out this year. I don't know if it's been done before, but to actually have a brother and sister, 2 siblings, that are the highest stake earners in both countries, obviously King of Swing in Australia and Better Twist in New Zealand. Quite remarkable.
Wow.
Quite remarkable. Yeah.
There'll be someone watching, they'll go and check it out. We'll find out if it's not right, but...
Yeah. No, it's right. Very honest here.
Little things that he's aware of. You don't mind. One thing I really do like. You like sharing the glory. You're quite happy to lease.
Oh, look, Paul, I love it like no other. Look, to have syndication and to see the smiles on race day. Look, winning a small race or a group race is nothing short of sensational, and even more so if they're new people to the game.
Yep.
And on the Jewels, the last Group 1, the major Group 1 day here in New Zealand, we were lucky enough to win 3 Jewels races, and again, Better Twist, a Better You, and Shares and South Coast Arden, which of course won the Canterbury Classic last weekend.
Yep.
The 2 race at Addington. So, but to have that thrill, 3 in one day, I mean, one would give you a hangover, third you're lying in the ditch. But all worth it, and just different groups of people. And, we partied, I tell you, into the wee hours, and pretty special.
I met you at the NZB Weanling sales. Even there, like anyone that doesn't know Ken, I can tell you guys were having fun, and there was no alcohol involved because it was before lunch. Probably at the end of the day, but it was business. But you have fun, don't you?
Oh, look, we love it. Yeah, we love the people, love the industry, and I try and bring in people. And it's quite easy. It's not hard to bring in people who do come along and see the fun that we're having, And we're inundated with people trying to join our syndicates. And again, most of them are gone from the year before. We're just syndicating another 8 horses. There was probably 10 that missed getting in.
Yep.
And that's not what we want. I mean, I think it's the future of harness racing is syndication.
I think the future of harness racing is actually showcasing the fun I think that's one part about it too that we have.
Yeah, very much so.
That you have to do, and that's what you guys do. You've got me going everywhere because I was going to try and catch up with someone with South Coast Arden. I don't have to. John Stuyven will be very, very happy that we're mentioning him. But did I see the other day that he's favourite for the New Zealand Cup now?
Yeah, he's sort of been in and out between him and Self Assured. Yeah, but he's probably gone in there now to favourite.
But he's just.
Well, I had a chat with Johnny Stuyven. Actually, I phoned John Stuyven last Friday after he won, and him and Judy, they're great people.
Yeah. He's very passionate. He helps me behind the scenes, trying to hook me up with a few of the interviews as well, and I really appreciate that. But this horse and the role that they're having with this horse is super. But unfortunately, with this COVID, it makes it so hard for people to get around and be able to see them too, doesn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, I know. Look, we're all sort of busting our foo-foo valves trying to get down, but these lockdowns aren't helping. And I'm just hoping we can get down there Cup Day and it goes ahead, but fingers crossed. Well, the race will go ahead, but I'm talking about us as owners or the public can get there on the day.
What's the philosophy for Breckon Farms? Because you keep a lot of your mares and you race them, and I think that's smart business from a mare's point of view, but you said you're going to be selling 40 horses this year.
Yeah.
But South Coast Arden is a gelding?
No, he's still got the crown jewels, I think.
Okay. So why does Ken Breckon buy? Why does Ken Breckon buy into that horse?
Well, hopefully success. No, but he look a horse like that might well end up back on the farm. To be fair, if I put my breeding hat on, we're probably only ever going to be serving mares on the farm. Nigel Fade. He actually comes from a stallion background. I mean, he's ex-Alabar. So look, who knows? I don't know what the future will bring. But look, there's a strong chance with the calibre of what we've got on the farm. We've got Twist and Twirl and Fold of Better's Delight. So I'd like to think yes, one day we can breed a champion. I think King of Swing with that rock and roll blood, because he's sort of an outcross to a lot of these, some of these mares that are on either in Australia or New Zealand. I think he could be great supporters of stallion, and I know in Australia, I mean, there is some UGIS this year. You mentioned Follow the Stars, and what was the one that Tony Dickinson horse, a good one over there that just passed away. I'm just trying to think. Alta.
Oh, Calypso.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, it was an Alta. Yeah, but so for these home stallions, I think there's a huge opportunity going forward. And I know Victoria Racing and New South Wales are encouraging home stallions. So there is a big future. There is a big future for them.
That's pretty important, because I think a lot of people would have you earmarked as a broodmare only farm, that's going to sell a few, and that's why I actually asked the question. I didn't know South Coast Arden was still a colt, so John will tell me off.
Well, hang on. Look, I might be a mutt, and I might be wearing dark glasses next time you see me, because it might have been gelded, but I lose track. The full Kennard and Glennis Kennard, we have a syndicate of 4 couples, and Jimmy Gibbs and Ann Gibbs and Gary and Karen Woodham and Karen and myself, and we've been very successful,
Yeah.
But I have nothing to do with what they buy, and obviously because I'm commercially selling them. So on that given day, I hand over a cheque and they go for their lives. And what we have on the day, whether it's one out of my draft, if it's not, and as in this case, was out of Johnny Stuyven's draft, and I just go along for the ride. And we've had some wonderful success. Spankham, of course, was the other one, who won the Miracle Mile. Very, very good horse. He's won over $1 million. So we've had a lot of success. So another masterpiece. Gosh, you can go on and on with them.
You had a ripping little mare with Karen a few years ago too. Can't think of her name.
No, I wasn't in that syndicate. No, another one. Yeah, up and off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Are you checking to see if that horse is gelded? You better be quick. So I'll tell you what, I've got those syndicate members. I'll be on this.
No. It's happened. It has happened. It has happened before. I can tell a great story about a horse that was purchased as a stallion purchase, and the trainer had him for 3 days and thought, geez, he's a quiet colt, and then had a little bit of a look, and yeah, unfortunately, he was a good horse, won an Inter Dominion, but I won't say his name. But yeah, it was a very big travesty actually. And Ken, it did involve the Kiwis, but it actually wasn't the Kiwis doing the selling. There's no worries there. I'm not giving the Kiwis a hard time. They were actually on the receiving end of this one. So yeah, mate, thank you very much for the chat. I love what you're doing. I've said to Charlotte about branding. I love the way you guys brand, not just the bee, but your colours. You get it out there. There's a lot of social media posts ranging from professionally done ones to just nice little fun ones as well. So I think, the way you guys are doing it, the industry needs to go this way, and I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you've got to keep the fun on it. Got to keep the humour in.
Yeah, definitely you do indeed. Ken Breckon, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
Thank you, Paul. Wonderful.
Right, so we are back. He's a lot of fun, Ken. There's a part in the middle. I haven't told you this bit, actually. We talk about the green room stuff, but someone rings him, and I don't know if I cut it all out, but he goes, I've sacked people for less than this. And when I finally get him back on the line, because he ended up dropping out completely, he said he's gone. He said I gave him a foot up the backside as he was walking out. He wasn't happening. Trying times over there. He obviously with COVID lockdown as well. He's an essential service, but he's even finding it hard. But one of the key things he said to me, I think off there, the mental health of a lot of people over there. It's pretty trying for you guys in New Zealand as well as it is for us Australians here, isn't it? This COVID thing at the minute.
Well, yeah, and sort of now we've been told that we need to have a vaccination rate of north of 90% or something, and no one really knows when that's going to happen. We'd like it to be so and so, but we don't know. We've got major issues here in the South Island just with Cup Week. The biggest week of the year at harness racing, and we've got a number of Group 1s here and for the thoroughbreds as well, and potentially they've now lifted restrictions where we can have more than 100. But if you're having an event like that, they have to be seated and waited on, and they've got to have separate rooms, separate dunnies and all this sort of thing. So it's sort of lifting the restrictions without lifting the restrictions, if you know what I mean. What they're doing is they're lifting the restriction but making it 3 times harder and financially probably unviable for a lot of places to do it.
I do a bit of live streaming, and I do some stuff for GRV, which is Grand Racing Victoria. And I think it was the Ballarat Cup was one of the first ones we did last year, and exactly that. Everyone had to be seated. It was a nightmare. So they had all these people, and it's all good and well. Everyone has good intentions, but yeah, you get 1 or 2 blokes on a table, get more than 1 or 2 drinks underneath the belt. You try and tell them they've got to stay seated. Good luck with that. It gets messy, and it's not the organisers' fault. They've got enough people on there. It's just people's natural reaction. We're social. We want to get out and socialise. So yeah, it is trying. You said there about New Zealand Cup Week and all your races. And Ken referred there to South Coast Arden. It's interesting that potential stallion prospect. I think that's great. A son of Sun Beach somewhere. They're just taking all before them. Definitely in North America at the minute with the likes of Down by the Seaside, Captain Treacherous, and even Huntsville, sons of his. So it's definitely key. And he's a local product. So for the Kiwis, that's something to get excited about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really know that till you told me. Something we're screaming out for probably is a colonial stallion to stand up here in New Zealand. We haven't had one since Christian Cullen. Bloody hard job with a horse like Better's Delight here, but again, as we've talked about it, it seems to be the sire line of choice at the minute is that Mac 3 Sun Beach line. So he's been a direct descendant, obviously Sun Beach being his father, so he's got that one tick. So yeah, I think good luck to them. I think it's a big ask, big call to make a stallion in this game at the moment, and we've seen it in Australia probably more so in recent times, where they've sort of made a bit more of a conscious swing towards home grown or colonial, for the want of a better term. I don't really like that term, but Australian bred, Australian race type stallion, and I think there's definitely a place for it.
We actually embrace the Kiwis too. Don't worry about that. Like Speeding Spurs over here. He was obviously a predominantly Kiwi horse, but the reason he's over here, standing at Lower Long Farms, is because of the Vic bred pure is what they call it. I hate the colonial word too. I don't know what to call it, but I think colonials just sounds cheap, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, there's such an old term now, and the world's such a different place than what it was when we were calling them colonial stallions. But yeah, I think we've relied heavily on American, and that's not to discredit the North American stallions, but we've relied on the North American product for a long time, and especially here in New Zealand, we haven't actually changed our racing style to suit the stallions that we're breeding to. We're still running over a bit of distance, and we're using stallions that are out and out milers, that aren't probably sit and sprint type horses or sit type horses. They're just speed merchants.
Yep.
Our racing pattern, our racing style probably just isn't quite up to date with our stallions, if you know what I mean. So you get a horse like Better's Delight who seems to be able to win over any distance, which is, again, you relay that back to a thoroughbred stallion. That's an absolute gem.
Yep.
That they can bend get distance, get a shorter distance, get a longer trip. But here in New Zealand, we've relied on milers from America, so it's great to see some home-bred, home-proven stallions standing up. So it's good. It is.
It's quite a funny thing. The anomalies. I don't know about you guys, but some beats somewhere here in Victoria, especially, people weren't overly keen on to the extent they were probably potting him until such time as he passed away, and now can't get enough of his progeny. And they absolutely love him. It's weird how it works, isn't it?
It is weird how it works, yeah, and it's always the way when I see it probably more so in the thoroughbreds. When they die, everyone wants them. But here in New Zealand, I think that a lot of people potted them probably for that main reason, where they had to go off the gate, they go a mile and they just don't stop until they get to the mile. Where here our racing pattern is, they might sit, they might sprint, they might have to go 2 or 3 times in a race, and they're just not bred for that,
Victoria Cup's on at the minute. One thing on social media I noticed this morning, it was actually Twitter, because everything else is down, which I alluded to there before. But don't forget to like my YouTube page and you'll keep up to date with all of these. I'll plug anything, Cam, you know that. NZB Standardbreds, don't forget the sale starting in February. Make sure you're there. I'll be over there, do a lot. I can do a lot. They're calling for the Vic Cup to go back to a 1.5 mile race. Yet, we're talking about changing the stands because people are saying it's more of a betting proposition. I don't know. Did you see the heats of the lather up Victorian Derby and the Oaks the other night at Bendigo? Both run over the 2,600 metres and threw up quite a few, I suppose, variants. Odds on favourites won, but then there was one race. It was on for young and old. Bondi Lockdown. What's her name? American Dealer. It was on. It was just a great tactical battle race.
I think that's the big thing, instead of it being out and out speed, it's more of a tactical duel, who's going to go, who's not, I think there is a place for them, I really do, because out and out mile racing is, albeit it's great, it's fast, it seems to be a percentage of the punting public want it, but there's still a percentage of people that still like that, sort of longer trip.
Yep.
A bit more tactical type race,
And cater for both of them. It might be a matter of putting on mile races for the first 6 races of the night, because they reckon the young people are only there early and then they leave, and then for the traditionalists we'll have the standing start long distance races towards the end of the night.
For all the old people like you, Paul, yeah.
It won't hurt at all. I'm pretty confident, Cam, you'll be sitting alongside me watching those races, so I don't think it'll matter too much how old I am. The Vic Cup, mate, it's thrown up a little bit of a curveball, especially for King of Swing drawing 13.
Yeah, that's going to make things a wee bit trickier. Amazing
Dreams drawn 5, so that gives Nathan Purdon a pretty good chance. The way she's going, she's just a class mare.
Well, you look at her record. Arguably these are the sort of races that I don't want to put the hoodoo on her, but these are the sort of races that she goes good in. Rather than not racing her own 6.
She's an anomaly that way, and of course bred by Woodlands Stud. I might have the jacket on. Cam can't see what I was just doing then, but I'll definitely hit the right side. So that's all. Nathan Purdon, he's got an amazing team all of a sudden, hasn't he? I've written down here, he's got Better Twist coming. She's on the plane today, I believe. After talking to Ken yesterday, I think she was going to be on the plane today, so she'll be arriving. Amazing Dream, Spellbound, A Better You now. What a team of horses the young man's got.
Well, it just shows you success breeds success. He's doing a great job. He's doing a great job with some fantastic horses that haven't missed a beat since going to him. So why wouldn't you have the confidence to support a guy like that? He's a shining light for the future, that boy.
I do stable chats for Kelly Partners, one of my sponsors. I will be getting to. I will make sure I get over there and see Nathan very shortly, just so people can see him and go from there. Did you tune into the Oaks and the Derby at Bendigo last week, the heats?
No, I can't say I did, mate. Sorry.
Do you like heat racing?
Look through all the replays.
Do you like heat racing, mate?
Yeah, it has its place. I think, we've sort of moved away from it a wee bit here in New Zealand, but that's probably why it's sort of, I think, still quite attractive in Australia, because we don't sort of see it quite as much,
Yeah, we don't have as many of them. It's interesting with Pacifico Dream getting in front of Western Sonador, hasn't raced this time in, and it gets in, whereas if they have to have a lead-up or a heat race to it, if Pacifico Dream bet Western Sonador home, takes all the argument out of it, out of the equation. So it is quite an interesting thing. There was a 2-year-old trial. Now, Menangle, mate, one of the fastest tracks going around, and this probably comes back to, I know my little brother got into a bit of the discussion on social media with Gareth Hall, when Gareth Hall was saying about how good King of Swing went, going 150.4. Did you see the 2-year-old called Small Tees, son of Sweet Lou, 150.2 for a trial?
Yeah, no, it's unfathomable, really. Even right from the get-go, he had her in top gear, didn't he?
He did indeed. It won by 100. I encourage people to go and watch it. New South Wales put their trials up. They're about a week behind. They don't put them up very quickly, New South Wales. They're getting better with a lot of the stuff they do, but they don't put their trial results up for a while. If you're on Twitter, you can see it. You can go to their Twitter page and watch it on that, but you can't watch it on their website. But it will go up very, very shortly. But pretty impressive horse for the Portellis. And I think you and I were just saying there before, the slowest mile rate race he's been in is a 159.8. The rest of them are just about 55 and under. So, yeah, it's amazing the times they run now.
Well, it is, it is. But they're bred to be, and that's where you say Sweet Lou horse, they're athletic, they're precocious, they're sort of bred to do that, you know what I mean? And it's a fast track, good on him. But he definitely had a point to prove in that trial.
He did indeed. It's interesting, like a horse like Sweet Lou, just this year just seems to have exploded onto the scene. People have seen him winner of the Little Brown Jug. A lot of quality 3-year-olds over here, 2-year-olds over here. He's doing a really good job. Admittedly, he is for one of my sponsors, but probably fair to say last year he was a little bit maligned. Sold terrifically on the North Island, probably not as well received on the South Island, but I think people are really keen on him again this year.
Well, I think that's probably one of the toughest part about this industry is that it doesn't take much to get a knock on something.
Yeah.
We're really quick to and we see it all the time. We see it at the thoroughbreds as well. I don't know if you know the thing of the thoroughbreds. He owns a horse here in New Zealand like Ocean Park, where he was virtually finished serving minimal mares and probably pretty ordinary quality mares in comparison. He comes out, he wins Group 1s and the Melbourne Spring, and all of a sudden we're racing around the country trying to find anything by Ocean Park to get in the yearling sales, because they're going to be worth something. And it's to a lesser degree, this is sort of what's happened here. He had a lot of knockers last year probably, and look, at the end of the day they're winning races. He just needs to probably win some classic type races, some good group races, and he is a way laughing, that fella.
Absolutely, he's doing it in North America. You can't get any bigger than the North American Jug. I was listening to, is it Zed? Is a stallion over there? I think it's the mother of, what's her name?
He's a classic example. He was serving bloody station mares.
No, Clydesdales.
Yeah.
They reckon he's got a part-bred Clydesdale colt that could nearly go in a thoroughbred race. He looks sensational, and he's this big Clydie cross. So, what's the mare? She got beat on the weekend. The good mare. I'm going to call it Elegant, but I can't think of her name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Elegant. Very elegant. Thank you very much. I couldn't think of the first part, but yeah, sire of her and doing a great job now. And yeah, at one stage couldn't get anyone, so they gave him to a Clydesdale farm to serve over some Clydesdales. Just ridiculous.
They should do a high country. They should do a high country station, mate. Like it's in the boondocks. halfway across the nullarbor to go and get it back, you know.
Talk about a reality check for the poor bugger too. I believe he was paddock serving them, so they just threw him out and said, "Go for your lot."
Just shows you how fickle his business is, you know.
Yeah, and now he's very, very much sought after. That's for sure, mate. From an NZB point of view, I noticed the other day your thoroughbred breeze ups have been changed, just getting tricky a bit with the COVID and the likes, making things a bit tricky for you guys.
Tricky, all right, yeah. And I think yesterday's announcement or whatever it was, I think she last had to give his announcement. It hasn't necessarily helped that situation because we run them at Te Rapa Racecourse in Hamilton, and they've gone into a 5-day snap lockdown. So which I think they came out of that on Friday, I think. But again, we've got to wait till Friday, and we potentially have the breeze ups Monday, Tuesday, the week following. Plan B, I think, is to have them Monday, Tuesday, the week following again. And plan C is if they're still in their little wee snap lockdown, we can take them to another place. But again, it's such a moving target is the problem, I think. And no one really knows day to day what could happen, where it could pop up, and the drama that it causes.
No, definitely not, mate. I could talk to you for a while. It's good to see you don't have the scarf on today, mate. I noticed a scarf popped up in a picture after last weekend's show.
Well, to be fair, mate, it was a dirty, cold day, and you know.
I can't miss every now and then. It was interesting that trotter you were there with. He's a Haras Des trotter, one of my other great sponsors, Pat Driscoll, and the crew at Breckon Farms, and that out of La Cucaracha. I didn't know he'd snuck over there, but he was a quality horse here in Australia. So it's great to see some of our horses making their way back over there to improve your racing product too. And I mean that sincerely too. I'm not being smart about improving. It's just good to get trotters like this going backwards and forwards.
Well, it's great too, you know, because that race itself is the Majestic's son, D.G. Jones, Banksman's Victorian Cup, named after the great man Derek Jones, who obviously is the grandfather of some very good horsemen, Mark Jones and the Butt Boys, Tim and Anthony and them. And it was great to have Jenny, Tim and Ant's mother there. And, you know, as she mentioned, you know, they came up against La Cucaracha with, I think it was Take a Moment quite a few times. So, you know, it's great to have those stories and, you know, generations, you know, heading up against generations. And it's a Group 3 race on the grass out there. But, like, you look at the honours board, there's some serious horses that won that race over the years. So, and that particular horse won it in a great fashion too. If you've ever, I don't know if you've seen the replay, but it won it by half a length of the straight too, going to the line under a pretty good hold anyway. She's
done a great job, Cookie. Like everyone says, you know, good race mares don't throw on. Cookie's done an enormous job.
She's an anomaly, isn't she, really? Because she's 100% producer now too, isn't she?
Pretty close. She'd be very close to it if she's not. And then also a couple of her daughters are doing a similar sort of job, which is just incredible. And, you know, breeding is cool. Go back through her breeding, and she's actually got a lot of pacing horses. I think she might have been actually the only trotter out of that mare, and yet all she's done is leave trotters. They've all
kept me right. That's right.
Yes, she was by Safely Kept. Yeah. And she was the only trotter, I believe, out of that family. But then you go back a couple of generations, and there was more trotters. So breeding's really cool. Any of the breeding nuts, I'll tell you, go and I worked Trot Fusion at Ballarat a week or two ago, and we had our homegrown series, so there's limited form, so you can just turn around and say, oh yeah, good win and all the rest. So I went through the breeding, and 4 big men, and the horse I was in question was a horse called Another Big Men, but they're out of a mare called Aleppo Heiress, but her grandmother is a mare called Insulated, and Connections sent her 1 year to Sundon, 1 year to Armbro Operative, next year to Sundon, next year to Armbro Operative. And you want to go and have a look at the winners, great winners. You got horses like 4 Big Men and them that are Cups class horses here. You know, he's probably a B plus class horse. He might be a sort of horse that'd make it into Dominion Field, but you probably wouldn't be expecting him to win it, or maybe even make the final, but he'd make the series. And then I think she left $300,000 trotting winners. Aleppo Murphy, Aleppo Midas, and Aleppo Heiress. I think they were the 3. It's just, I love breeding sometimes. Some of the anomalies it can throw up. So they go trotting 1 year, pacing the next, and they still get winners.
It's a bit like Lowell Creek's family. Same one too, similar family. It changed a wee bit around. But yeah, it's one of the great things that keeps us very interested in this business, doesn't it? You know, anomalies, stories. You know, you got to have a story. You got to have the results, but you got to have the stories too. You know.
Absolutely. Cam, I could talk to you for ages. I don't know, it's early morning over here and the wife's nearly finished feeding up and knocking the dew off the ground, so I might have to get outside and do a little bit for 5 minutes, mate.
Well, it's good to see Marie. You know, she normally says you lay in and we'll, you know, have a cup of tea and muck around, and she comes in for smoko. You're normally just getting out of the 90.
I made her breakfast in bed this morning, mate. Don't you worry about that. Bray, this is the New Zealand show, as I said, proudly brought to you by Woodlands Stud, NZB Standardbreds, and also Haras Des trotteurs. I thank everyone for their support. Don't forget my YouTube page. Get on and like my YouTube page. You'll be able to sit up and watch them. There'll be no Facebook outages that'll worry the YouTube page. So, Bray, thanks very much for joining me, mate.
Thanks, Paul.